Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to completely reframe how you look at your own physical vessel. You know that feeling when your body just seems to have a mind of its own?
I'm talking about those super relatable, maybe slightly embarrassing things our bodies do that we constantly try to hide or apologize for. You know the ones: a random muscle twitch in the middle of a quiet meeting, your stomach letting out a massive growl on a first date, or your knees popping out of nowhere when you stand up from a chair. We usually notice this stuff and instantly think, oh man, what's wrong with me? Well, I want to completely flip the script for you today. Those little physical oddities, they aren't glitches or problems. Actually, they are cold, hard, scientific proof of a highly functioning, finely tuned machine. You are not falling apart, I promise. You're actually operating at peak biological performance.
Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're going to take a tour through the interconnected systems of the body. We'll start with your thriving digestive system, move on to a responsive nervous system, explore brain wiring and empathy, and finally, look at how to embrace your body's quirks.
Starting off with Section 1, your thriving digestive system.
Let's talk about just how loudly and dynamically your gut processes fuel. And yeah, we're starting with the most infamous bodily quirk of them all, passing gas. Look, I know it's not exactly glamorous, but the science here is crystal clear. An average, totally healthy person farts somewhere between 14 to 23 times a day. And here's the crucial point: this is not a problem you need to fix. It literally just means your active gut bacteria are in there doing their job, successfully fermenting fiber. When you eat a diet with plenty of fiber, your microbiome produces gas as a completely natural byproduct. So if you're hitting those numbers, honestly, congratulations. Your gut flora is absolutely thriving. The folks who should actually be worried are the ones who never pass gas, because that usually means you're either starving your gut bacteria of fiber or your digestion is moving way too slowly.
Now let's rewind the clock to right before you even take your first bite. Have you ever noticed your mouth watering just by smelling or even looking at a really good meal? This is something called the cephalic phase of digestion in action. It's a brilliant reflex. Notice the sequence. Your brain perceives the food, shoots a signal straight down your vagus nerve, and your mouth literally starts pooling with an enzyme called amylase to break down carbs early. Your gut-brain axis is basically setting the table, ramping up acid and enzymes before the food even arrives. When this happens, it just means your internal communication lines are firing perfectly. Okay, so you eat the meal, but then, have you ever noticed your hands or maybe the tip of your nose getting a little cold right after a big dinner? This is called postprandial blood redistribution. Digestion takes a massive amount of energy, right? So your autonomic nervous system brilliantly deprioritizes your extremities. It redirects all that nice warm blood flow straight to your stomach and intestines to power the digestion process. Getting a bit chilly just means your body is effectively switching into a healthy rest and digest mode.
And what about between meals? Your stomach lets out a huge growl, and usually it's in a perfectly quiet room, right? Well, that embarrassing rumble isn't just hunger. It's actually your migrating motor complex in action. Think of this as your gut's essential self-cleaning oven cycle. Every 90 minutes or so when you aren't digesting food, these big waves of muscular contractions sweep through your empty gut. They're pushing out leftover food particles and debris to prevent bacterial overgrowth. So next time your stomach makes a racket between meals, just remember, it's just performing critical biological maintenance. Moving right along to Section 2, a responsive nervous system.
It's time to get into the mechanical and electrical side of things, starting with a sound that makes a lot of people panic: joint popping. We all know that sound: a cracking back, a clicking knee, an ankle that pops when you walk. People hear that and immediately assume their bones are grinding together or deteriorating. But look at what's actually happening here. That loud pop, it's usually just gas bubbles collapsing inside the synovial fluid that lubricates your joints. That's the whole shebang. It is not bone on bone. In fact, joints that move through their full healthy range of motion are actually more likely to crack because that fluid is actively circulating. A cracking knee just means you have a healthy, fully utilized joint that is moving exactly how it should.
Oh, here's another super common one: those annoying random muscle twitches. Maybe your calf pulses while you're sitting there, or your thumb just won't stop fluttering. The scientific term for this is fasciculations. It happens when individual motor units within your muscles just spontaneously fire off. You might be sitting there wondering if something is seriously wrong, but you can totally relax.
The most common triggers for these harmless twitches are simply exercise, fatigue, caffeine, or stress. It literally just means your nervous system is a tiny bit overstimulated and some electrical signals are leaking out. It actually shows your neuromuscular system is highly primed, active, and adapting. That's exactly why athletes get them so frequently after intense workouts. Their motor neurons are just recalibrating. It's adaptation, not damage.
Now this next one is wild. It's a phenomenon called the photic sneeze reflex. Have you ever walked out into bright sunlight and instantly sneezed? About 25% of the population has this genetic quirk. But why? Well, your trigeminal nerve, which handles facial sensation, and your optic nerve, which handles light, run so closely together in your brain that a sudden flash of bright light creates a sort of neural crosstalk. The light signal spills over, your brain gets confused and misinterprets it as an irritation in your nose, and boom, you sneeze. It's a harmless, super fascinating sign of tightly wired cranial nerves.
Let's jump into Section 3, brain wiring and empathy. This is where we see how profound emotional processing shows up as some incredibly strange but wonderful bodily reactions. Take vivid dreams, for instance. You know the ones. Wild storylines, complex characters, crazy plot twists that make absolutely no sense when you wake up. Believe it or not, that is a fantastic indicator that your brain is hitting proper, deep REM sleep. This is the stage where your brain does the heavy lifting, consolidating memories, processing emotions, and creative problem solving. If your dreams are weird and vivid, your brain is doing exactly what it's supposed to do to keep you cognitively sharp and emotionally regulated. And what about music? Have you ever listened to a song and gotten a physical wave of chills or literal goosebumps down your arms? Interestingly, not everyone gets this. Studies from Harvard and USC have shown that people who experience music chills actually have denser neural connections between their auditory cortex and their emotion processing regions. It causes an intense dopamine surge. So the really cool takeaway here is, if a beautiful song gives you goosebumps, it scientifically proves you have a brain physically wired for richer emotional depth than the average person.
Now for our final neural quirk, contagious yawning. You see someone yawn and you instantly have to yawn too. But this actually has very little to do with being tired. It's your mirror neurons firing. And that is the exact neural system responsible for empathy. Studies consistently show that people who easily catch yawns score significantly higher in emotional intelligence and social awareness. On the flip side, people with antisocial personality traits rarely catch yawns because their mirror neurons simply don't fire the same way. So contagious yawning is quite literally empathy in action.
Finally, Section 4. Embrace your body's quirks. It's time to pull all this together and synthesize what these amazing interconnected systems are actually telling us about our day-to-day health. Look at the incredible biological symphony we've covered today. From a noisy digestive tract sweeping away harmful bacteria, to crossed facial nerves making you sneeze at the sun, to mirror neurons creating contagious yawns. The takeaway here is incredibly empowering. Your body is a finely tuned masterpiece, not some weird mistake. Every single twitch, growl, and pop is a brilliant signal of adaptation, responsiveness, and absolute peak performance.
So, I want to leave you with this final thought. The next time your stomach lets out a massive growl during a meeting, or your knee pops when you stand up in a perfectly quiet room, are you going to feel embarrassed, or will you be absolutely amazed at the sheer genius of your biology? Thank you so much for exploring these fascinating quirks with me today. Keep learning, keep appreciating your amazing physical vessel, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.